Yo, 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 what is going on, my beautiful brothers and sisters, fellow radiators of love? My name is Jamal Pope, aka J Phoenix, and this is going to be your astrology horoscope for the weekend of November the 30th and December 1st of 2024, the new moon in Sag. Appreciate you all joining me. Hopefully you guys had a wonderful, wonderful holiday and continue to have a wonderful holiday as we are in the holiday season. So we have a new moon in Sag going on. It's going to be happening pretty much Saturday night into Sunday. So depending upon where you are in the world, it's either going to happen, like I said, like late Saturday evening or early Saturday or Sunday morning. So we're going to be taking a look at that. This new moon, of course, is in square to Saturn, and it is being disposited by Jupiter retrograde too. And Mercury, of course, is retrograde here in Sag as well. So definitely a lot to talk about, so let's go ahead and hop into it. I wanted to make this a little bit earlier, but few time constraints and stuff like that. So at the very least, I wanted to make sure I got this out, and I actually will be covering this for each of the 12 signs. So this may be a little bit longer, but I'll be sure to put some timestamps in the bottom, so you can go to your sign to see how this is going to be affecting you directly. But we do have a new moon in Sag. This is going to be happening at 9 degrees of Sagittarius. It's going to be conjunct the royal star and Taurus, and Mercury retrograde is involved with this. The last time that we could have had a new moon in Sag, with Mercury retrograde also in Sag, while the new moon was in square to Saturn in Pisces, you got to go back to the 60s. It's the last time that we saw this. So if we take this thing back all the way back to 60, I think it was 65 was what I saw, because I was doing a little bit of research on this last night to see when was the last time that we could have even seen this. So if we go back to 65, yep, so this was the last time that we could have saw this. And this was an interesting one because this happened right at the beginning of Sagittarius, as you can see here. So this was a 0 degree new moon in Sagittarius, with Mercury retrograde also in Sagittarius, and Saturn, which was moving forward in Pisces. So similar energy. Venus was also in Capricorn at that time, and the dispositor of the new moon, Jupiter, was also in Gemini. So this was the closest energetically that we are in this particular moment. Of course, we have Pluto and Uranus in Virgo. You had Chiron that was in Pisces. You had Mars, which was in Capricorn. So Mars was exalted instead of being where it is in Leo, where it's not like, yeah, it's a fire sign, but we have to remember that Mars is moving very, very, very slow. So it does not have the firepower that it wants to have, right? Neptune was also in Scorpio, and where right now it's in Pisces. So definitely a little bit different, but this is the closest that we could have gotten to. So unless you were born before 1965, right, or like right around this time, you haven't experienced a new moon in Sag, with Mercury retrograde also in Sag squaring over to Saturn and Pisces. Because you gotta remember, in 94, 95, when the last time that Saturn was here, Mercury was also in Pisces, right? So we didn't have it at that point. So that's, you have to keep going back and looking to see when was the last time. So we've been through a couple of Saturn cycles, the last time that we could have experienced the energy that we are at right now, right? So like I said, this is going to be that 9 degrees of Sag. It's an interesting degree. 9 numerology wise is Mars, right? But these energies are being disposited by Jupiter, right? And Jupiter, of course, is in Gemini, and it's retrograde. So it doesn't have the firepower that it wants either. This is definitely, though, about what are the facts. First, Sagittarius, of course, is about the big picture and the beliefs, and, it wants to explore. It's the adventurer, right? But with Mercury that's retrograding in Sag, we don't have all the answers. You are not going to have all the answers right now. You are not going to have all the answers. So that can be frustrating for some people that want to have everything figured out right now, or people that may be totally absorbed into their worldview. This new moon gives us an opportunity to kind of break out of that mold a little bit to see what else is possible. But the complication here, of course, is that square over to Saturn, Because what that square does is that it does add this element of a fog or a veil as far as, this Piscean energy. So it's very mystical, it's very spiritual, it's very 12th house. So this is dealing with, prisons, hospitals, drugs, spirituality. It's dealing with blood flow because this is Pisces and it's mutable water, right? With it being in Saturn too, this can definitely be dealing more with like the knees and stuff like that. So, hopefully no one's having like knee issues and stuff like that, but it can be dealing with that. I think the other thing too, though, is that this can also just be dealing with just the overall spiritual pressures in life and the spiritual baggage or the spiritual weight that people may feel like they are bearing and what people believe about those sort of things because of the Sag energy. But like I said, with Mercury retrograde here, when it comes to communicating these beliefs and these ideals and stuff, we're having to go back to the drawing board with it being retrograde. And remember, it's in detriment. It would rather switch places with Jupiter that it's opposing. And Jupiter, of course, is dispositing this. Now, we got to think about where Jupiter is. Jupiter is in Gemini, so it's about the facts, right? It's not necessarily about ideals and beliefs. It's about the facts. It's reporting the news, if you will. But the news here you need to take the emotion out of the news because Gemini is the messenger. If Mercury gets too caught up in bringing their own emotions into whatever they're delivering or whatever message that they're delivering, if they bring too much of that into it, if they bring too much of their own opinion into it, then that can muddy the news, right? So, and that's what you're seeing a lot right now, too. Remember that this is in square to Saturn as well, right? Even though it's 5 degrees, right? They are still in square, and they're going to square again, right? So, because Jupiter's retrograding, Saturn's coming forward. Although Saturn's moving very slow, but we're starting to see now that the way to expand right now is not by getting your emotions overly involved in it. There's nothing wrong with emotions, obviously. You need to connect with your emotions and understand that. But I think a lot of people are trying to go off that intuition or that gut reaction, and they're relying so heavily on that they're not able to see unbiased news, if you will. Like I said, Mercury is the messenger, right? So this is now what we are seeing a retraction when it comes to these, I guess you could say, these beliefs or these ideals that are more accepted on a larger scale, right? Like I said, Jupiter is retrograde. Jupiter wants to expand, but now that it's retrograde, it is contracting. So that's what you're seeing. You're not seeing the expansion right now. You are seeing the contraction. That's why you're seeing a lot of these news sites are laying off people. That's why you're seeing people are taking pay cuts. This is why you're seeing people fleeing the country, right? It's because of the contraction of everything. Not expansion, but the contraction of it. So this new moon, yes, new moons can be about, new things, right? Especially in Sagittarius, it could be about new adventures and, new ideas and new philosophies and new things. But this new moon is not necessarily all about the new stuff. Why? Because its dispositor Jupiter is retrograde in Gemini. And like I said, it's about the facts and kind of getting to brass tacks. So we have to swim past all of the opinion aspects of everything. Because everyone has opinions. But what's the truth of the matter, right? And then you have Mercury here, right? Mercury, of course, which is dispositing Jupiter. They're dispositing each other, right? So there's some mutual reception there. But, like I said, they're both retrograde. So that's the weird thing about this. It's the fact that we are entering into an age now where, especially when it comes to news, and I don't know why I'm focused so much on news, but especially when it comes to like the news outlets and the news media and those sort of things. I think also because Saturn's in Pisces, Neptune's in Pisces as well, squaring all this energy, right? And you gotta remember, like the last time that we even had an energy that's similar to this, we have to remember that Saturn and Pisces are actually opposing where Pluto was at that time, right? So we have to take that into consideration too, because Pluto was in, and I think it was Uranus that was also here in Virgo too. Uranus is now, of course, here in Taurus, so it's trining where it was that last time. But now we are starting to see people are starting to be like, you know what, that doesn't appeal to me. You know, that isn't really news oriented. I think there are some things that you can actually take the same, you could take like the same story, right? How is it that you can take the same story and people can write about it? And they're supposed to be journalists, right? And they have wildly different accounts based off of their own life experience and based off of their own opinions and biases that they will deliver in dramatically different ways, right? And you see that. But, and maybe there's an element of that that can't be helped, but it does seem like there is so much more of it. Whereas, like, is this actually a news piece or is this an opinion piece? So, take that sort of example and then kind of look at your own life. Is there something that, it's actually factual, or is there like opinion? Is there life experience that's going into this? Is the journey of everything that you've been through going into that, and why you may feel that way, or maybe have that idea, or maybe have that even fantasy? You have to start to think about these sort of things, right? Now, like I said, what makes this a little more complicated, of course, is the square over to Saturn. And Saturn, of course, is all about the hard work. And being that's in Pisces, and being that's getting ready to conjunct Neptune eventually, it's not going to get there quite yet, right? But it's moving slower in Pisces. So there is an element here of our spiritual integrity, of course, and how we are going to move in a world that is constantly vying for our attention, as constantly vying for us to believe this thing, he said, she said, and pretty much has us wanting to outsource our ability to think for ourselves to something else, like a think tank or this group or that ideology and what have you. You're starting to see this more, right? So it's this new moon, like I said, it's not the new start that everyone wants it to be, right? Because too much of the energy is slow. Too much of the energy that's affecting the new moon is slow. And some of the few energies that are wanting to kind of move things forward, like Mars, it's moving slow, right? Saturn, about getting things done, it's moving slow as well. Now, we could argue, say, Venus, maybe, here in Capricorn, but Venus is about how we are received, right? So and we gotta remember, Venus is the ancient ruler of Taurus, traditionally rules Taurus. It's dispositing this Uranus. Uranus is all about the people. So we could look at the Venus and maybe rely on the Venus here a little bit, but also it's like, if you're unable to receive yourself and appreciate yourself, or if you're worried about how other people receive you, this can be dealing with self-esteem issues as well. So it's like, yeah, maybe we want to go to that Venus. Maybe we want to be well received. Maybe we want to be liked. Maybe we want to, have we want to have the status. You want to receive that as well, right? But it all comes down to whether or not you have the self-confidence and the self-worth and the belief in yourself to actually accomplish these sort of things. So if anything, this new moon, because this is the sun, and that the sun, of course, in many ways deals with the self, right? So it's like, this can help you to reinstill some belief in yourself that you can do something, that you can go for something, even if you don't have all the answers, even if you don't know exactly what's going on, because no one knows exactly what's going on. But take the information that you do have. I think everyone right now, it's almost like you have like a guidebook, right? We have a guidebook right now, and we're flipping through the pages of this guidebook, and half of the pages are empty and blank. And we're being told to go out there and do the best you can. And you're like, whoa, wait a minute. The guidebook's not even full. Like, there's a lot of blank pages. How am I supposed to do this thing to the best of my ability if it's blank? Well, you kind of have to fly by the seat of your pants. So for those people who are not confident, for those people who are able to reach out and to connect with other people, that's the thing about Venus and Capricorn. It's about how well are you able to connect, and how well are you able to network as well, especially with Capricorn. Does a lot with like career and business, and how the way that you make of yourself, right? This Venus is being disposited by this Saturn as well, right? And Saturn's in Pisces, so yeah. So how well are you able to network and connect with other people? Are you going to keep to yourself, kind of clam up and be the introvert. But this is about going out, being a little bit bold. Yes, you don't have all the answers. No one does, right? We all have some sort of weird veil that we're having to deal with right now. And that's okay, right? But it's about, yeah, I may not necessarily have the full guidebook right here, right? But there's always going to be blank pages in this guidebook. As you kind of go throughout life and the guidebook starts to fill out and starts to appear, you start having experiences and you start knowing that, okay, so that's how I can adjust in that sort of situation the next time I come across it and so forth, right? There's always going to be another blank page behind it, right? So it talks to the constant evolutions of our souls, right? And the constant evolution of I'll say our souls, yeah. Our spirit, I feel like, always is and not changing. But it's our souls, I feel like, that evolve and stuff like that too, right? So that's kind of where we are with this, And it's about learning how to be okay and learning how to accept where you are. That's the thing about Venus and Capricorn too. It's like if you're unable to accept where you currently are right now, regardless of how you may feel about it, regardless of how you may think about it, if you're unable to accept where you are right now, then you're going to, quite frankly, struggle with the energy, right? I think we all want more. We're wired to want more. We're wired to want to experience more. We're wired to be frank. We all are our own biggest critics. But this is about how can we accept where we are right now, right? And how can we start to believe in ourselves again? That's what it comes down to, is ourself, not necessarily other people, but ourself. Now, I think that's super, super important. I've been called to draw a card here, and then I'll talk about each of the 12 signs. I'll try and go through that a little bit faster. I have the Wheel of Fortune. I freaking love that. The Wheel of Fortune. So, yeah, I mean, fortune belongs to those who dare to play the game. But there is a level of risk. There's a level of risk to everything in life. But for those that really want the big experiences and I guess you could say the big money, but for those that really want the big experiences or want to go for the things, there's a level of risk that goes into it, right? So it's not going to come automatically. There's a level of risk, there's a level of sacrifice that comes to it. Anybody that has some level of fortune, there's always something that needs to be given up as a sort of tribute or even sacrifice in order to receive that thing as well. It's not just going to be given, right? So there's always some give and take here. Well, let's talk about the new moon, right? So Sagittarius, this new moon is happening in your first house. So this is, generally when the new moon happens in a sign, that's kind of when that season really does start. So this is an interesting month, December, because we're going to have two new moons. We're going to have this one and the one in Capricorn, right? So this new moon, it's all about a new self, a new version of you, Sagittarius. But because Mercury is retrograde in your first house too, a lot of times with right now, especially your actions are really they're playing out. You can't hide them. Like Sag, you can't hide it. You can't hide on your face. Your emotions are on your face. You're wearing your heart on your sleeve right now, and it's hard for you to hide those sort of things. It's right there out in the open. It's blunt, right? So this is having to do with whether or not you even believe in yourself anymore, and believe that you can do it, and what are the things that you tell yourself as well with that Mercury retrograde here. Now, the veil, the confusing part of this, the part that you kind of have to work through, is the fact that the Saturn in Pisces is in your fourth house. So this has a lot to do with your home life. This has a lot to do with even your childhood. Maybe there's some things in your childhood that you have to go back and address. You could be dealing with the parents as well, because this is Saturn and it's the fourth house. So this could be dealing with parents, like mother or father. There's something there, some type of challenge, maybe some sort of blockage that may be preventing you from feeling like you can believe in yourself again, believe that you can actually go out and do the things that you really want to do and experience the life and have the adventure. But you kind of find yourself kind of falling back into some of the same patterns too. That's the other thing too that a lot of people don't really like to think about when it comes to like patterns. I would say patterns are kind of like Gemini and Cancer, especially Cancer, because it's Cancer, it's that like Leo is like, like kind of like high school, teenage. Cancer is like right before then. That's when you really start to formulate your patterns and stuff like that too, right? So there could be a pattern, Sagittarius, that you are kind of stuck in when it comes to your fourth house and your emotions and stuff like that. When it comes to like your home situations and stuff like that, there could be a pattern, or a pattern with like your family that you kind of go through. So it's about like whether or not, I think Sagittarius is about you needing to communicate what you really think. And that may ostracize you from some people. That may scare some people away. But honestly, playing this game where you're being a little PC about it is probably not getting you where you need to go. So I feel like Sagittarius, you probably have something to say. And Sagittarius, you're already very blunt. So I think that's why this Mercury retrograde here is good for you, because it can allow you to kind of think about what you're going to say before you say it, right? Because the fact of the matter is that you don't have all the answers either when it comes to that. So you have to kind of temper the way that you kind of bring this out. But like I said, that veil here, the thing that you're kind of working on, the thing that needs to, kind of have to work through and kind of grow up in, is your fourth house energy, right? Scorpio, this is going to be your second house. So this could be, second house is money, finances, self-worth, self-confidence, Scorpio. So you're wanting to feel more confident. You wanted to believe. You want to actually, I felt like Scorpios, you need like a target. You need something to go for. You need something that is going to wake you up in the morning, right? Saturn is here in your fifth house of creativity and passion. So the blockage is that I think Scorpios are wanting to do something very creative, and they're wanting to do something that kind of like I said, wakes them up in the morning. But you've kind of been just like going through the motions, Scorpio. And now you're kind of having to read things like, is this a self-worth issue? Is this a self-confidence issue? Is this a money issue? Like you feel like you don't have enough money to do the things that you want to do? But like I said, the weird veil, the blockage is somewhere in your fifth house. So it's something that's going on with the heart space and the way that you express yourself. Maybe you need to take a page out of Leo's book and learn how to be more like a Leo, right? And it's interesting too, because Mars is here in Leo, right? At the top of your chart, it's in the 10th house, but it's moving a little bit slow. So Scorpios, maybe even like your work or your career, you feel like things may be moving. Yeah, you may feel like you have like a little bit of spice, a little bit of firepower, but it's not quite the kick or the jump that you need, right? Because like I said, Mars is slowing down. It's not speeding up. So it's like you kind of feel some kind of, nice thing there, like some passion or inspiration, but it's not quite hitting. That's why I think you need to focus more on that fifth house energy. And the second house energy is like, maybe the thing that you're looking for, it could be a hobby, honestly. Maybe there's a hobby that's kind of gone by the wayside that you need to revisit. And that's going to be the thing that really starts to reinvigorate you so you can feel more alive. Like Scorpio season was interesting. I felt like I went into a hole in Scorpio season. Right? And then I came out and I'm just sort of like, okay, all right, that happened, So Scorpios, it's like you've been in a bit of a hole. You're kind of coming out. You've molted your shell, if you will. And now, yeah, you're a little bit more sensitive and stuff. This is about how can you feel more alive? How can you feel more alive and feel the passion and express that love you have for life? That's what Scorpios are. Libra, this new moon is happening in your third house. Mercury's also in your third house, which Mercury likes to be in the third house, but it's in Sag, so it's interesting. So that's the thing. Libras think like a Sagittarius, right? Because that's where their third house is. So this is going to have everything to do with, yes, your mind, but this also can have a lot to do with just your general surroundings. So Libras, some of you guys may end up moving, but maybe not very far, but maybe you move, to the other side of town, if you will. That can happen with this being in the third house. Now, Mercury retrograde there as well. So there's definitely something kind of like a weird thing when it comes to that. I also feel like Libras, when it comes to like your communication right now, it can seem a little bit weird, especially if you're communicating certain ideals and philosophies on life and everything like that. So there could be a new idea of philosophy on life that you start to think about a little bit more, but it's going to be hard for you to kind of communicate that because you don't have all the answers to it right now. It's just sort of like you're just scratching the surface of whatever that thing is. Now, this is squaring Saturn and Pisces, which is in your sixth house, which does deal with your day-to-day reality, which does deal with, the finer details in life. It does deal with your service to others. So Libra, I think really what it comes down here to is, you're wanting to communicate a lot right now. You're wanting to, but it's hard for you to communicate your ideas right now because Mercury is retrograde there. So not everyone's going to get it. It's like you're looking at the number 6 and other people are looking at it upside down and they're seeing a 9 and you're both like, it's a 6, it's a 9, it's a 6, it's a 9. Well, let me tell you the ways on how it's a 6. I'm telling you, I clearly see a 9. So Libra, this is about how can you, you are the scales. You have to kind of come at this from a more of like a balancing kind of act. Maybe you actually have to kind of go around and look at things from the other side. And then maybe come back to your side and then readjust. But the thing is that because Mercury is retrograde there too, it's going to be harder for you to like put a lid on it, right? So Libras are kind of like, right now. It's going to be harder for you to put a lid on it. So maybe, kind of look at your ruling planet, Venus, right? That's in Capricorn. It's in your 4th house here, right? So this can come down to like, I think for Libras, if your home is secure, if you are secure in your emotions and stuff like that, then, you're going to feel a lot better about this. If you're not secure in your emotions, if you're not really secure at home, if you feel like you can't really express yourself or you even are well received in that area, then that can cause a little bit of discord, right? So Libra, I think you said you want to just make sure that you're working on your communication skills, realizing that everyone's going to see things the way that you're seeing things right now. And that Saturn and Pisces in your 6th house, it definitely, like I said, I think the challenge right now, Libra, is that your day-to-day life, I think you want it to be more exciting and flowy. Because like I said, you have a 6th house Pisces, so you rather be flowing, and it doesn't necessarily have to have a ton of structure, but Saturn and Pisces is wanting you to bring some sort of structure to that flowiness and that mutable, watery house, 6th house that you have, right? Because, natural 6th house is Virgo. It's opposite Pisces. So for you, everything is flipped. Everything is reversed. But it's about how do you find the balance in that flow? How can you find your rhythm in that flow? Virgo, this new moon for you is happening in your 4th house, right? So this has everything to do, with your home, with your emotional foundation. It has to do with maybe even your childhood, your parents. So this new moon here, with Sag, this can bring a nice little kind of cultural element to your home. Maybe you have to kind of spice things up in the home. Maybe this could be an opportunity for you to maybe cook some different kinds of food or kind of do something a little bit different. Maybe you need to, Sag also, I like to think of having this visionary kind of quality to it. I'm thinking movies, even though movies are technically Pisces, but it can be Sag as well. So maybe that's what you need to do with this new moon. Maybe you watch a good movie, kind of kick back. But that Mercury there, still, this can cause some weird communication breakdowns in the home as well, potentially with a spouse or potentially with your own children. Maybe there's some weird things and maybe ideologically you don't necessarily see eye to eye. Now, of course, it's squaring Saturn and Pisces in your 7th house. So most certainly this is going to be dealing with the relationships. I think a lot of Virgos are trying to navigate these relationships because they've dealt with relationship issues for a little bit now, Virgos, right? So it's about, because I think the thing with Virgo is that, honestly, Virgo, y'all can be a bit persnickety. Y'all can be very, very particular, right? And you guys can communicate your point well, but at the same time, sometimes it has a tendency to kind of rub people the wrong way. You know what I'm saying? Because it's so matter of fact, right? But you got to remember, with this energy, you're, traditionally ruled by Mercury. Mercury dispositing your energy, which is nothing even here. Your ruling planet is in your 4th house. So a lot of it is coming down to 4th house energy. And the fact that this retrograding right here means that there's something within your home life that needs to kind of be communicated with the people that you live with, as far as how you see things, the ideals, the beliefs. Maybe the beliefs aren't 100% there. Maybe they're not 100% aligned. But does that mean that the relationship is over? Does that mean the relationship is done? Well, no. I think Saturn, like I said, moving forward in Pisces is a positive thing, but it's just talking about how, nothing that is worth it comes easy. There are easy moments, but nothing that is worth it really, really comes easy, if you will. Does that make sense? So I think for you, Virgo, maybe you've had this kind of movie like look at how your home life and how your relationships would look like. Maybe you had this like whole romanticized movie of how it would look like, and it's not quite turning out that way. And now you're trying to adjust little parts of it so it can fit that image that you have in your head. But the fact of the matter is that it's never going to fit that image in your head. And who's to say that the image in your head is what you really want or need? Because maybe you get that thing and it's not exactly what you want. So I think the difference, the different cultural things, I think that actually is very positive and healthy. It's about learning to embrace and accept that. Leo, this new moon for you is happening in your 5th house. So, this is nice. The sun is in your 5th house. You're naturally ruled by the sun. So this can be really great for Leos as far as feeling motivated and, believing in yourself and whatever like that. But Mercury is retrograde there too. So it's like, that's the thing too. It's like, what are you telling yourself when it comes to that? What is your heart telling you as well? Maybe you're having a change of heart. I think some Leos are going to be having a change of heart when it comes to certain things. Maybe it's relationships. Maybe it's creative passions. Maybe it's a job. But Leos are going to be having a bit of a change of heart, especially considering the fact that Mars is in your sign, slowing down. So whatever it is, you're pumping the brakes a little bit on something that you have identified with. And you're kind of going back and looking at, maybe you don't give it up all the way, but you're pumping the brakes on something, Leo, that you previously identified with. And now you have to ask yourself, am I going to continue to invest my energy in this thing? Now, this new moon is squaring Saturn here in Pisces, right? Which for you is your 8th house. So this is dealing with a lot of transformation. This is dealing with, we just got all the Scorpio season, right? So this is dealing with a lot of transformation. It's a little bit harder. It's also going to be dealing with, because 8th house, it's Pisces, it's like shared resources too. That's like, it's shared energy. For some of you who are women, y'all might actually get pregnant around this just because, if you think about 8th house and the shared resources, and then this is water, so I'm thinking blood, so I'm thinking sharing the blood, and like how like babies and the mother, they share the blood, they share everything with each other, right? And then how they can affect each other too. So it's like some of y'all may already be pregnant, of course, right? But some of you guys may be getting pregnant around this time too with this new moon in your 5th house. And of course, the 5th house does rule children, right? So that's the thing about it. So some of you guys may actually be getting pregnant. That's another thing about it. But you also can be getting pregnant with say a new idea, or you're getting ready to transform something, and maybe you take something that you previously identified with, right? And maybe you're getting ready to transform that thing into something brand new, right? I think this actually can be very positive for the Leos. But once again, of course, since the Saturn is in your 8th house, and the 8th house is not the easiest energy to deal with, it can definitely make things a little bit more emotionally heavy for Leo. But you guys are able to lift so much more than most people can, right? You guys are able to bear so much more spiritual responsibility than most people can, being that Pisces is your 8th house. So it's probably why all the planets revolve around the sun. Cancer, this is happening for you in your 6th house. Of course, it's going to be squaring Saturn in your 9th. So this is having everything to do with your day-to-day reality and what you believe about that. So it's like if you look at your life and you start making judgments on yourself based off of that life, what do you believe about yourself? The people that you hang out with, the job that you have, the services you give to people, how clean your house is, right? And of course, Mercury here, retrograde. You don't fully know exactly. I feel like Cancer is like, you don't really know where you're going right now. Like just in general, right? You don't really know what your day-to-day life, you're kind of just going through the motions anyways. But like Mercury retrograde here is like it wants to change something up. So it's like it wants to add something to it. So there's some sort of fact that you're kind of missing here. The square over to, like I said, this Saturn and Pisces in your ninth house. This does come down to your belief and stuff like that. So, and because Saturn is here and that rule, that's I'm thinking like parents as well. I think some cancers, you know, maybe you adopted beliefs from your parents, whatever like that didn't really work, or maybe you need to actually come back to some of those beliefs, but in like your own way, your own fresh way, and how it can work for your life. I think this is really about, Cancer, you kind of have to look to see is like, in my day to day life, is there some spiritual aspect that I'm just missing, or am I just like not really considering that? It's like this. So I think Cancer is right. Right now, it's like they're kind of I think the pattern right now with Cancers too, if you think about it, they're fourth in your fourth house. You have the South Node here and Black Moon. You're dealing with patterns like a mug. Like you're dealing with past life patterns with the South Node there, with the Black Moon Lilith. You're dealing with patterns because you're afraid of something, right? Maybe you're afraid of change, Cancer. But this is going to come down to, I think the challenge here could be even reconciliation with parents or parental figures, maybe even reconciliation with God, you know? Because right now, it's like I said, it's a new moon. Everyone wants to be like, oh, it's new energy and new this. And with it being Sag, just let's take the basic thing. All right, Sag, it's travel, it's adventure, it's, fun, it's expansion, it's foreign places, it's culture, it's ideals, it's beliefs. So be like, oh, you may have a new belief or new ideal about what? Six house stuff, about your work, about your everyday life, about your service, whatever like that. No, no, no. You're probably coming to a lot of the same conclusions, but Mercury is retrograde here, so a lot of that's going to change. But it's about like, you kind of have to look at it and be like, maybe there's some reconciliations that need to be made when it comes to your relationship with the divine. So, Gemini, this is happening for you in your seventh house. New relationship? Mercury is retrograding here though too though. So this could be someone that you may have previously been like, I'll never date them, or I'll never get with them. Never say never, right? Jupiter, of course, is in your sign, retrograde. So, but then, like I said, Gemini's. Oh my gosh, like what's crazy too? Everyone's tripping about Kendrick Lamar. I know that he just dropped an album or whatever like that. Gemini, when Jupiter comes forward, Gemini is going to be dropping just like track after track after track after track. Like we haven't even seen what like once Jupiter comes forward, it's really like they're going to really feel like, all right, let's go. Let's. Y'all thought that they had power now. Y'all thought that they were going. That y'all thought that they were talking now. Wait till Jupiter actually comes forward. And then you'll see that, like, what we've been seeing from Gemini is going to be a fraction compared, especially once Jupiter starts to get going again. It's going to be like a fraction compared to what they're doing right now. So if you think you're impressed with Gemini, then you're going to see a lot more coming once Jupiter is going forward, right? So Gemini, yeah, this has stuff to do with your relationships. Mercury is retrograde here too, so maybe some of you guys may be rethinking on a relationship. Like I said, with Jupiter being in your sign espousing this energy, it's all about the relationship with yourself too, right? Now, of course, it's squaring Saturn and Pisces, which is in your 10th house. So it does have a lot to do with your career and the way that you are seen in the world, right? So maybe there's a blockage there too. Maybe there could be a thing where you might be too focused on career. You may be too focused on, wanting to be seen by others and wanting to be embraced and accepted by others and wanting to be appreciated by others. You may be a little bit that's the thing. Venus, of course, here in Capricorn in your 8th house, there's a lot of things when it comes to that's 8th house, shared resources, transformation. So a lot of y'all guys have transformed a lot over, this last little bit here when it comes to like your career and when it comes to the way that you're seen in the world too, right? Gemini, yeah, it's relationships, right? But it's about primarily, of course, the relationship to yourself that matters the most. and you don't have all the answers in this relationship. So I'm saying, like, Gemini, don't run away from a relationship just because you don't know. It's Mercury's retrograde. You don't know. You don't have all the facts, and you want the facts. It's hard for you to have the facts right now. But I think once Jupiter comes forward, you'll start to actually understand things a little bit more. And yes, it's squaring over to this Saturn and Neptune. So what's kind of murky right now, what's kind of like the veil is like, where is this all going? That's what Gemini's wondering. Like, especially when it comes to like your work and your career, like, where is this going anyways? Where am I going to be in 5 years? Where am I going to be in 10 years? So with Gemini, you can entertain yourself in the moment and stuff like that. It'd be one thing if it'd be one thing if like it's like Capricorn and Saturn was in it feels like different. Like say this would be different like for like say Capricorn. Like say Neptune was over here in Libra, and Saturn was over there in Libra, and that was Capricorn's like 10th house, and they don't necessarily know what their whole career like they will freak out, right? Capricorn will like freak out. They won't show it, but they'll freak out. Gemini, at least you can entertain yourself throughout this, right? So that's kind of the nice thing with you, but don't run away from the relationship, right? But I think also it's a weird time for new relationships as well. You might want to wait until Mercury comes direct. But I wouldn't say just completely write this off either. So definitely an interesting one for y'all guys. Taurus, this new moon is happening in your 8th house. A transformation. There's a transformation of your beliefs. There's a transformation of your ideals that's happening here. But the Mercury retrograde, of course, is being like, why? Why is there a transformation? Why is this thing happening? You don't have all the answers for why this is happening. And it makes it a little bit more psychological. It makes it a little bit deeper because this is the 8th house. But it's Sag, though. Sag wants things to be light. It's mutable fire, so it wants things to be light. But that's the weird thing about it. Sag, you take your fun seriously, in a way. It's kind of weird, right? Tauruses take their fun seriously. That's why, like, when a Taurus comes home after the end of the day, like, they take their relaxation seriously. Like, Taurus, that's the thing that people don't know about Tauruses. Tauruses are one of the most, like, they are some of the most undercover, most powerful beings here. Because it's like, Taurus, they take their fun, and they take their adventure, and they take that sort of stuff seriously. Right? So that's the interesting thing about it. Now, it's squaring this Saturn right here, right? This is happening for you in your 11th house. So this does in many ways do with how you're relating to other people. This also can be dealing with your networks as well. So, for you guys, I think that, you have the ruler of the natural 11th house, Uranus, in your sign too. So I think for Taurus, for you guys, there's a level of stubbornness here that's disallowing you from really networking and connecting with other people that could take you to another level that can kind of help to open your eyes a little bit, if you will. But because this is a new moon in your 8th house, it's like they're kind of wanting to set like those emotional boundaries. But this is about, if you connect with the right person, it can really help to expand your worldview so you're not as like rigid, if you will. So that's the thing about it. I think Taurus wants to go to the party, but they're like, oh, it's a drag, or why should I go? But it's like there is that one person or that one thing that's like, yo, Taurus, you gotta come to this party. It's gonna be a bomb ass party. You gotta come out. But Taurus is like right now, it's like I actually would recommend for you guys to go out. Maybe you don't have to necessarily go like, don't do anything like crazy, right? But it's like I actually encourage you guys to go out and have fun, and to, maybe you just go bowling or something like that. Maybe you go to the arcade. Maybe you have some friends over for a board game night or something like that. But I think that's really what Tauruses need. It's like you guys want to go out. You want to be extroverted. You want to have fun. You want to connect. You want to transform when it comes to that sort of stuff. But right now there's a belief that's kind of getting in the way that's keeping you stuck because you don't have all the answers for the transformation that you're starting to feel really well up within you. But it's like, don't do the whole just sitting at home watching Netflix thing. Tauruses, actually go out and have fun. I'm encouraging you, Taurus, to seriously just go out and have fun, because that's going to be the thing that helps to get your motor going. Aries, this for you is happening in your 9th house, right? So yeah, this is dealing with your beliefs. This is dealing with your ideals, right? It is, of course, squaring this Saturn, which is in your 12th house. So this does dealing with, of course, spirituality, hidden zone, things that are, not in readily view, right? Things that are a little bit more obscure, right? Things that are there but are unseen, right? That's what it's dealing with. So, Aries, I think for you guys, yeah, this can help you establish like a new belief in yourself. I know this says it's the ninth house. Some of you guys may end up wanting to move to other places. I wouldn't be surprised if we see like some prominent Aries move like further distances, and so not just like in their local town, but like moving like much further away. Now, why it's going to be happening? Mercury is still retrograde, so we're not going to know exactly why those things are happening, right? But maybe I'm just saying like, there may be some celebrities, like we can use them as examples, any areas that may move out of the country or move across the country or something like that too. So that can happen. But like I said, the square over to Saturn Pisces is like a lot of the answers that you're seeking right now, they are spiritually ordained. They are spiritually ordained, and you're not going to be able to understand them immediately. It's something that you have to, like, is something that is beyond, the human ego, right? So there's a level of like sacrifice here. There's a level of letting go. Saturn is in your 12th house. So Aries are having to let go of a lot right now when it comes to Saturnian kind of energy, especially being here in Pisces. You're having to let go of a lot of these control mechanisms that you've had. You're having to let go of a lot of these preconceived notions that you've had. It's a lot of letting go. A lot of letting go, right? So that's the interesting thing about it. Of course, Chiron is in your sign, so you are dealing with a lot of insecurities right now, Aries. No one probably knows that because you're gonna mask it behind your Aries energy. But of course, Mars, your ruling planet, which is dispositing this Chiron and North Node in your sign, it is in your 5th house. So yeah, you want to feel passion, you want to feel creative, but it's slowing down, it's pumping the brakes still, right? So, that's the interesting thing about this with the you Aries. It's about, yes, you are definitely wanting to express yourself more, but at the same time, there are some things that are getting into the way when it comes to self-worth, self-esteem issues, when it comes to, insecurities that you may have. And of course, like I said, there's a spiritual nature to this that's kind of undercutting this with that Saturn here in Pisces. It's going to make things, like I said, you're not going to have all the answers. Aries, you're having to just pretty much let go of control. You have to let go of control. Pisces, this for you is happening for you in your 10th house. Of course, squaring Saturn in your 1st, right? So Pisces, the challenge for you actually is you. You are actually the thing getting in your own way. You are actually the veil that is obscuring where you're going and who you're trying to be and where you're going. You actually are that thing. Now, this square over to this new moon, of course. This new moon, of course, is in your 10th house. So this does deal with your career. This does deal with where you're going in life, where you're aiming in life, especially for you, it's the arrow. And that's the thing about Pisces too. It's like if a Pisces can really fixate on something and that you go for the target, then they can find themselves having the grandest adventure ever. If you look at Sagittarius, right? Like if they really focus on something that really gets their heart going, whatever like that, they can have just the grandest adventures and they can take them everywhere. But because your 10th house is mutable fire, and because Mercury is there, you probably have ADHD brain like a mother. Even if you're not like diagnosed ADHD, Pisces, you guys are having like mad ADHD right now. Just saying, right? You don't know where to go. You don't know what to think. It's like you're focusing on this thing. That thing looks exciting. That thing is shiny. That thing is shiny. That thing is shiny. And it's like, yo, can I focus a little bit? So you're actually the one getting in your own way. Because it's going to be easier for you to escape like you normally do. It's going to be easy for you to just go into dream world and dreamland, into daydream. It's going to be easy to go into that. But this is about how can we take these new seeds that come with every new moon, right? So there is new energy here. But it's just like, how can we take this energy and how can we, not just be like, it is what it is. The universe will handle it, whatever. This is about being more intentional. So Pisces, you need to be more intentional about the seeds that you're planting. Not just doing it haphazardly, because whatever, because that's what you usually do. so lackadaisical a lot of times about it. But it's about how can you be intentional about those things. Yes, Mercury retrograde here. You're not going to have all the answers when it comes to that. As far as like, where's this thing going? So Pisces, I feel like a lot of you guys may even have like a really cool idea for a career or a business, but you have no idea if it's going to work out because Mercury is retrograde there. You have no idea how it's going to work out. And the thing that's kind of getting your way with the Saturn and Pisces and square to this is your own damn self. You are literally the one getting in your way. So you kind of have to almost just like be like, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go for it anyways. So who knows? May it turn out to be something that will take you on the grandest adventure of your life. That way you don't have to daydream about going to places. You can actually go to those places and be there. Aquarius, this new moon for you is happening in your 11th house, squaring over to Saturn in your 2nd house. Aquarius is you guys are kind of interesting, right, with this one. You guys, with this being in your 11th house, you're trying to connect with new people, right? And this is 11th house, so it's like you may be connecting with people like online and stuff like that. And maybe you don't necessarily know why. It's interesting too. As soon as Pluto came back into Aquarius, my wife became more active on Reddit and has just been talking to like random people just about life and trying to relate to people. Because like, yeah, she talks to me about stuff, obviously, but sometimes there's some things that like, she wants to talk to other people about. And she is an Aquarius. So it's funny, as soon as Pluto came into Aquarius, she started doing that. So a lot of y'all probably started doing that. So I think, for the Aquariuses out there, 11th house, this also makes it a little bit more on the social side. Now, I think the danger here is that, like, because Mercury's retrograde here, I think a lot of Aquariuses, you guys are going to be kind of be waking up from like a dream, like you're almost under like a spell, because there can be prone to getting involved in like 11th house. It can be cultish, right? Pisces is also cultish, but Aquarius is also the people and the systems, right? So it can get a little bit cultish as well, right? So Aquarius, some of you guys could be escaping cults. Some of you guys may run cults. I don't know, but I think except it's done with the 2nd house. This is about self-worth and value, right? And it's interesting. Your 2nd house is Pisces, so your self-worth doesn't like Aquarius' self-worth doesn't necessarily come from like money per se. It doesn't really come from like the amount of money that they have, or like their self-confidence doesn't necessarily come from that. It doesn't necessarily come from like that obvious physical thing. It's much more about the emotions and how they affect people and how they connect with people. It's much more about that sort of stuff. It's about the water that they bring to the table. That's what Aquarius is. They're the water bearers. So the thing that's most valuable to them is the water that they're bringing to the table, right? So I think the challenge here is the what are you bringing? Saturn and Pisces. The water, what energy are you bringing? Right? The new moon of Sag is like, maybe rethinking, of course, with Mercury here as well, maybe rethinking, who will you even bring it to? Right? Or who you're even connecting to. Maybe the people that you're trying to connect to or bring it to or bring the water to or water those plants, whatever like that, maybe they don't appreciate it. Right? So maybe trying to think of like, maybe you need to adjust where you're bringing it to, right? So I think Aquariuses, a lot of you guys are connecting more. You actually are kind of coming out of your shell a little bit, right? I know y'all don't like humanity. Y'all help us, but y'all don't like humanity, right? I get it. But it's like you're kind of coming out of your shell a little bit more. So Aquarius, he's like, it's time for you to actually connect with humans again, right? Connect with people, especially with Pluto in your sign too, right? Age of Aquarius is settling in a little bit more. You haven't even really seen Aquariuses be who they really are. Not really. You haven't really seen Aquariuses really be Aquarius. Starting to get a little bit more of that. Starting to get a little bit of a taste of that, especially with the new moon in your 11th house. You rule the natural 11th house, right? So it's like this can help you maybe even believe in people again, in the world again. But I think it's all about like how you're connecting with people. And even if you don't necessarily fully see eye to eye with someone, you don't necessarily have to just throw the whole relationship away, right? But I think it's about, all right, the things that you are bringing to the table, the water that you are bearing, if you will, I guess the blockage there could be like, is this bringing value, right? is this bringing something to the table? Is this providing that sustenance and that nurturance that people may be needing or wanting, right? So kind of interesting for the Aquariuses. I think it could be a good one. Kind of similar to Taurus too, and maybe it's even all the fixed signs, but it's like this is element of like going out and being with people and connecting with people and doing things and being more extroverted. It seems like it's hitting the fixed signs a little bit more. So that's just based off of just kind of like me kind of going through this and just kind of noticing that pattern, right? And Capricorn, of course, for you, this is happening in your 12th house, and it is squaring Saturn in your 3rd. So new moon is Sag, 12th house. Yeah, this is the hidden zone, right, for you. This is definitely your house of spirituality. I think for you guys, especially with Mercury that's retrograde here, it's that there are some beliefs that you have that have kept you small. There are beliefs that you have that maybe have kept you in a prison or a hospital. There are beliefs here that maybe have kept you feeling like a victim, right, Capricorn? And maybe it's just because Pluto's finally done in your sign, so it's like it's like a relief that Pluto's finally not in your sign, right? Such a relief for you guys, I'm sure. But then you get this energy. It's like, so don't go back to the previous way of thinking because you've completely transformed over the last 15 years. So it's about like, it's like maybe there's like this weird dream or thing that kind of comes up where you feel like you can kind of be who you used to be, but you can't be that anymore. You can't be that anymore. So the blockage here, the challenge here with Saturn in the 3rd house is you thinking that you can actually be that again. You thinking that illusion, that delusion, that fantasy can happen and be again. But you're never going back to being who you were. You completely have transformed. You have completely transformed, Capricorn. Right? So now that you have completely transformed, imagine the new experiences that can come up, right? Imagine, the possibilities here. I think this new moon in Sag can show you just how big this universe is. So I think for some Capricorns, it's like you may feel like you almost have like so many options. And I think the Mercury retrograde now here in your 12th house, it's almost like a genie has come to you as like, all right, you get 3 wishes, right? And it's like you're having to think really critically about what you want these wishes to be because now it's like it's endless possibilities, right? It's endless possibilities. So you don't necessarily know what to wish for right now. And I think that's okay. It's okay to not know what to wish for right now, Capricorn. I think the main thing to focus on is that the sheer amount of abundance of the things that you can do and things that you can accomplish, revel in that, because I think the answers will come soon. You don't necessarily have to make your wishes right now. But I think the challenge here, of course, that the veil is repetitive thinking and past ways of thinking and think that you can reclaim some sort of fantasy, if you will, and, that you can just go back to being who you were, but you can't go back to who you were. So it's about, okay, what am I becoming? So you should ask yourself that. Instead of looking in the mirror or looking at past pictures and be like, oh, look what I used to do. It's about, okay, who am I becoming? What am I becoming? And that's really where you should put your focus on, Capricorn. So that's all the 12 signs for this new moon in Sag. We go into Sunday, like a little bit deeper in the course into Sunday, we will see the moon actually square Saturn. It's going to be really early in the morning when that happens. We also will see that moon make the opposition to Jupiter, right? It's going to be in the afternoon, and it will actually conjunct Mercury as well. So it's going to hit all of the planets that are really affecting this new moon the most, I would say. And so we're going to feel it from the sun's point of view, then we're going to feel it more from Saturn's point of view, then we're going to feel it more from Jupiter's point of view, then we're going to feel it from Mercury. So it's going to kind of be like a full circle kind of moment, if you will, as far as like the moon making aspects, like the square, the opposition, the conjunction, right? So we have like this sort of full circle kind of moment here by the end of Sunday. And I think if you can get to this moment, and because like I said, the moon's going to be conjunct Mercury, and we're still going to feel like, well, I still feel like I don't have all the answers. I kind of have some ideas. I kind of can see what the challenge may be. I kind of can see what, you know, maybe even a potential solution might be here, but it's like this other side of the coin, the other side of the paper. I can kind of see that. And then you come back to Mercury, and now you're looking for a solution because it's conjunctional and it's expanding each other's energy. They're enhancing each other's energy, right? So it's like maybe you felt like, well, shoot, I kind of came off through that, and now I don't necessarily. It's almost like you're like an investigator, if you will, and you come back around full circle, and you realize that, oh wow, it was right there all along. But I still don't necessarily get it. That's the thing. That's the thing. You honestly are on the right path if you don't necessarily know how things are going to turn out. If you don't have all the answers. Anybody that's like a know-it-all right now or has all the answers, run. Run for these individuals because they are the people that think that their beliefs and they just that are absolute truth, whatever. Like, run from these people, right? Run from them. So, this is about, like I said, a lot of this is very mutable, right? It's a lot of mutable right now, right? With Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune influence, Sun, Mercury, Moon, very mutable, right? So, like I said, I think it can be very positive. Kind of have like a bit of a full circle kind of moment here on Sunday, where it's like we kind of get back, and we're like, well, I kind of have some answers, but I don't really have all the answers, right? So I think it's about like there's only so much because like Sagittarius is also school, and Mercury retrograde. It's sort of like we are taking a test, but it's like the review period. It's like, okay, you know, you can only study so much, right? You can only study so much for the test. At some point, you have to just take the test, and you're never going to feel 100% prepared for the test. Never, right? Some people may feel more prepared than others, but you're never going to feel like 100% prepared for the test. So just take the test. It's okay. Well, what if I fail? You failed. You take it again. Or you take a different test, right? What if I fail? Take it again. It's just one of those things too, especially when it comes to like, creative passions and building things and, maybe you want to create a business or you want to learn a new skill or take up a new hobby, whatever like that and stuff. You're going to fail, but it's going to be those failures that lead to success. It's going to be those failures that lead to your victory, right? And that's what's important, right? So don't not take the test because you're not 100% confident that you're going to get a 100 on the test, right? See where you are. See how you stack up. You probably have come a lot farther than you realized if you're just willing to open up and accept it. All right? So let's go ahead and get some cards for this. Like I said, I will put timestamps for the 12 signs. That way you can kind of go to yours for this. I trust that this message will assist you on your journey today, this weekend, as we shift into the last month of the year. And what a year it has been. It has been a wild year, that is for sure. And it's only going to get wilder. So, let's see what we have here. I have the Three of Cups. I do like this card. It's about, connecting with other people. It doesn't have to be a lot of people, but it's about emotionally understanding each other. It's about empathy in many ways. And there's a bit of a party element to this as well. But I do like this. It's about, having a deeper empathy for each other, but not toxic empathy. I think that's another part too. So we don't necessarily want to placate and give into other people's delusions. But I think this is still about like how can we, connect with the people and have empathy for people as well. And I think there's still a level of holding people accountable too, right? So I do have the Five of Wands in reverse. So yeah, there's no need for like weird petty arguments and all that sort of stuff. It's in reverse. It's like this stuff can really be avoided, right? So it's like there's no, it lets me know that this is like very surface level, petty. It's not, it doesn't have to be super deep or anything like that. So don't let this get in the way of this, right? And I feel like a lot of people are doing that. People are letting this get in the way of this. Because if we can do this more and we can fellowship more, we can create really cool shit together, right? So there's an element of collaboration here. But if you're so focused on this, then you're not going to be able to come together and do that sort of thing, right? I'll draw one more card. I get this card a lot. It's the Five of Coins, right? So I think so many people are feeling lost. So many people are feeling trapped on the outside. And because we are getting into the holiday season, I know a lot of people get seasonal depression too. So it's like, I think if we are so focused on this part right here and we're able to feel the Three of Cups, we will just put ourselves out. Like we do it to ourselves at this point. You're doing it to yourself, right? Oh, well, that person voted for someone I didn't vote for. Okay. And local stuff probably matters more anyways. If we're looking at politics stuff. But so that's just one part of it, right? Politics is like what? It's Capricorn. A little bit of it's Libra as well. Well, Libra is more like diplomats, but it's Capricorn, right? That's just one sign of the 12, right? You can connect in other ways, in other houses, right? So it's not just about that. But if you get so caught up on this, then the squabbling, right? The squabbling, right? I know it's wands, right? But so it's fire. So I'm thinking more like ideals, beliefs, Sag energy. And Five of Coins, yeah, it's winter here, right? So Sag is that final month, it's that final season before winter. It's the final 30 days before winter comes in. So it's like, I feel like people feel like the seasonal depression kind of kicking in, right? It's like, don't allow this, right, to turn into this so you can't feel this, right? I feel like they're like on the inside of this. Don't let that happen, right? One more card and we'll cut it. I got the Eight of Swords in reverse, right? Eight of Swords in reverse. She's wearing like, yeah, she's like stuck and she's wearing like the skin of like a donkey, right? But it's like, it's in reverse here. So it's like the only way that you're feeling trapped or stuck is because you're doing it to yourself. And because she's wearing the donkey, I have to say it, you're being an ass to yourself. Just straight up. So don't be an asshole to yourself. Don't trap yourself. Don't lock yourself out of life, right? Don't do it. You can connect. You can have fun. You can embrace other people. You don't have to agree on everything. You don't have to have all the same beliefs. To still get along with people, to still have fun with people, to still fellowship, right? So try to, especially like a lot of the surface levels, a lot of the big stuff, a lot of the stuff that doesn't even affect us and shit like that, right? These popularity contests that we have every 4 years, that's what they are. They're popularity contests from high school. It's just in a different level, right? Don't trap yourself. Don't be an asshole to yourself. And try not to be an asshole to other people too. So but it's Sagittarius. Sag is very blunt, right? So it's like very blunt, but that doesn't necessarily make it right or good. I think a lot of times Sagittarius will be like, oh, I'm just being authentic. I'm, the way that they are kind of on with their blunt and stuff like that, and the way that they say things. And it's like, oh, I'm just being authentic. And I'm like, well, sometimes, and it's not just Sag, what Sag does is Sag energy is like, well, you're kind of being authentically an asshole, right? That's the thing about it. He's like, you may have a lot of power. Yeah, Zeus, yeah, you may be the king of the gods and stuff like that, but sometimes you're an asshole, right? So that's the thing about it. So, so I guess the whole thing with this new moon is don't be an asshole to yourself. Because that's how you're going to trap yourself. Anyways, I trust that this message will assist you on your journey this weekend and going forward. I'm going to go on, do my thing. You guys probably hear my cat whining in the background. But y'all take care. Stay blessed. Have a wonderful new moon in Sagittarius. And I will see you all on the next video. Peace out.